Have you ever tried to compose or create anything while peaking on DMT? Like a work of art or anything?
Orgasms.
That
Lots of
counts.
sex. Um,
That counts. Let's get into that because I know that, it's also a big part of the book. That's, a canvas, a sexual act.
but I think that there's 2 ways of maybe using DMT in that, expressive or creative state where do you actually do it while you're kinda tripping and whatever, creating music or creating poetry or maybe even art while you're I think there's something to be said doing that. I can only imagine the how the sauce would be able to come through when you're doing it in that state. Uh, I think there's probably just as much or more though to be taken out. What happens after the quiet contemplation of the artist, of the scientist, of the architect, of the doctor, after a week or a weekend ayahuasca trip, or several, profound deep trips into the DMT space? How are they going to approach the problem of autism from a different perspective? How are they going to approach this whatever, these major problems in a
Yeah.
different light. So there's a lot of aspect, to how we can open up our mind. But as far as, using it uh, to get into a flow state, I think DMT is fantastic to kind of set it off. So when I'm about to write and when I want to try to sit down and bang out a chapter or two, maybe to start it off with a DMT blast to get that vibratory hum, to ask for the universe to help me to resonate with me, and then the creative flow just happens that much easier. But when I jumped right in and said sex, I think one of the ways that I actually do try to use it in the moment with DMT to in that elevated state is in an intimate setting, and uh, I think there's a lot of exploration that can be there with your partner, sexual or not. But yeah, that's an
Yeah.
interesting way to get benefit from this molecule is connecting with another person in an intimate setting like that.
Yeah. Because now I'm just thinking about the practical aspects of it because you need to choose what position you're gonna be,
Yeah.
in. When are you taking the hits? Like, are you
Right.
doing it before? Are you doing it mid-thrust? Like, walk me through a DMT sex session.
So I talk about my first kind of not necessarily embarrassing. It was informative session. So the woman that I was speaking with earlier, she's the woman that wrote the 2 chapters in that book. Um, the plan was let's try to time orgasm with peak sensation. So middle of our session, right before I'm about ready to blast off, I'm gonna hit the DMT pen and I'm gonna try to time the fireworks of DMT with the fireworks of orgasm. That's what we had planned that first night. Well, right when I'm like, all right, this is the time, I took a rip of that DMT pen and instantly, and I say this in the book, like all the blood went from below my waist up to my brain. My erection completely went away. I was just instantly just this like in this space, like, what the fuck am I doing? Had no
Yeah.
control. Like having sex was kind of the last thing on my mind.
The anchor turned to
The
rubber.
answer, yeah, it was fucking useless. This was, yeah, this was actually pre-Anchor, but
This is
um,
pre-anchor. Alright,
no,
that's the problem.
the but it was luckily the woman I was with, and once again still am, just realized that, all right, let's hold him, give him his space, let him enjoy where he's at. Certainly not make, try to push it or try to, clearly this wasn't going to fucking happen. But again, the beauty of DMT is it only lasts several minutes. So I started coming back. We kind of had a laugh about it, being like, all right, well, we've got to come up with a different game plan because, uh, it's going to be tough to try to time it exactly like that. So then we decided, well, let's try to microdose it as we're building as we're doing foreplay, as we're kind of building the intimacy, and that's where having a vape pen can come in really handy. Where my preferred way is actually just smoking crystals in a pipe because you can really blast it and kind of go real deep. But as far as using with art, sex, the vape pen makes it really controllable. So then we started. Well, let's just take one hit, pass it to the other person, and just see how that feels. And then you started being more comfortable just pushing the level of vibration. And then your personal vibration started mending, with your partners. And we were able to kind of sync our breathing, to sync our pulsing, to sync the way our blood was working. Sexual, but also in a non sexual way. And it just
Mm,
became very easy to then let's push it to 2 hits, to 3 hits, to, like I said, not trying to be too graphic, but let's lay in the 69 position and let's just chill out. And you pass it, and you're really able
yeah.
to
Take a hit of that 69 pipe.
Yeah, but I mean, once again, you got a beautiful fucking woman in front of you, on top of you. Like, if you can play with that ebb and flow, and and practice, like, same thing with like tantric sex, or tantric whatever, where you're really trying to just play with those levels, and that first day after that, kind of like, all right, we're not going to time the fireworks, but let's try to do this. That connection that we had, and then the afterwards of kind of like snuggling and integrating it and talking all about it, we realized very quickly that that could be an important part of our relationship routine, as well as our sexual kind of interactions. And over the years now, we use that quite a bit. Where I'd say that the main thing is, like we said, share it, microdose with one another while we're both kind of doing things to one another. Or now we'll do it where one person will go pretty deep into the space. That'll kind of be about them in the DMT space, and the other person is there to almost service them, and to kind of just make
Mm,
them, whether it be rubbing their feet, rubbing their back, going down on them, whatever it may be. But they're
yeah.
in this really cool vibratory state, and they're not asked to do anything or perform anything or to get an erection or to do. You're there being loved
Mm,
on, and man, to be in a comfortable space, vibratory, vibrating in that endogenous DMT hum, with your own endogenous DMT getting elevated, while you have somebody just
yeah.
imparting love on you, sexual or
So
not, is awesome.
s so sometimes you're there to put the D in DMT, and then other times you're just there to
Sucking it out.
service and be there,
Uh,
you know,
yeah.
be there in support.
And it's,
That's fascinating.
depending on how like kinky you are and what you want to get into it. But I know me and my girlfriend both have areas where we really push it to experience each other in a pretty deep way. Where yeah, I've experienced this woman's body in a way that I've never experienced, anybody else's like that, and it's
Yeah.
awesome. It's way beyond orgasm, or just normal sensory stimulation. It's a connection, in a mending of energies that's it's beautiful. It's poetic. It brings so much to the intimacy, and especially if you're trying to prolong the experience. Both DMT and shrooms, I think, can really turn a, for some people, if they're struggling for 5-10 minutes, I mean, you can turn that into 5 hours if you wanted.